Good evening, ladies and gents. Tonight I'm going to be playing a little bit of Castle Evolution for the Sega Mega Drive. And this is another one of those games that I didn't have when I was little, but I borrowed from my school classmates. And I actually bought my copy several years afterwards from a Brazilian store. This is one of those games that you play when you're a kid, and the first time you play it, it's really difficult. And this game is challenging. This game gives you 3 lives, 3 continues, and that's it. But when you play it over and over, you can pretty much beat it every time. Okay, let's start a new game. This old graybeard telling you what to do. Master of Illusion. Reminds me of the Forest Evolution from Super Mario World. And this is one of the first games that was demonstrated when the Sega Mega Drive was going to be launched in the United States, which was called the Genesis. Alan Nielsen, the president of Sega at the time, demonstrated this game, and it looked amazing. It was like playing a cartoon. Back in the day, that was like, wow, this is a huge step from the 8-bit Master System, or the Nintendo Entertainment System, or the Atari 7800. The funny thing is that in Japanese, this game is called "アイラブミッキーマウスふしぎのお城大冒険", which translates to "I love Mickey Mouse", the great adventure in the mysterious castle, approximate translation. And that's completely the antithesis of what I actually feel for it. Actually, I detest Mickey Mouse. I've always hated Mickey Mouse. Even when I was a kid, I can't stand Mickey Mouse. I think he's one of the dumbest characters ever made, and I think there's just a load of much better characters out there. I mean, Mickey Mouse is like the male version of Barbie, in that he's a bad role model, but everybody likes him, and he represents like the worst of American culture, and especially American culture as seen by foreigners. You know, so like I said before in my Tiny Toon Adventures playthrough, actually the same applies for this. I actually hate the cartoon, but I like the game. And the game recently that they're going to remake this game for the Xbox Live Arcade and the PlayStation Network, and I think Steam or some other download service. They're going to remake Castle Evolution. There's actually a collection in Japan, of course, only in Japan, of Sega Ages, Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck, in which Quackshot, another game from Capcom, and Castle Evolution are remade on the Saturn. They don't actually look better than they do on the Mega Drive version, but the Saturn is capable of outputting in S-Video, so the graphic quality is actually better if you have the S-Video cable. And these levels, you can actually explore a bit in these levels, and the first time you play through them, you will probably get lost for a while before you discover the path. And that's one thing that I liked about this game, just exploring and kind of finding my way around levels. It's pretty entertaining. Now this boss over here, if I didn't know better I would say he was inspired by Wispy Wood from Kirby. But this game actually predates Kirby, so it's a bit debatable of whether or not Kirby's Wispy Wood was actually inspired by this game. But then again, it's not a terribly original thing to have a tree monster. Now, I remember Sean Baby's review of, I think it was Mickey Speedway USA, in which he made fun of Mickey because the whole plot of Mickey Speedway USA on the Nintendo 64 was Mickey Mouse bought a diamond collar for his dog and the Weasel Gang stole it, and they had to get it back by racing against them. Now, who buys a diamond collar for their dog? And to quote Sean Baby, I believe it was, how is it that Mickey Mouse always finds new and exciting ways of showing off so moranically? I have to agree. This game and the subsequent ones were extremely popular in Brazil, and actually I remember there was a contest in a Disney magazine, Mickey Mouse Comics, in which you could win a Sega Mega Drive or a Master System or a Game Gear, or the handheld LCD Tectoy games. Sega was produced by Tectoy in Brazil, and you could win an exclusive Sega Mega Drive with Disney themes. I never actually saw anyone who won it, but it looked pretty good. It looked pretty sweet actually. But yeah, Mega Drive was great in Brazil. Sega in general was very popular in Brazil. In fact, there were some Brazil exclusive games, mainly from Turma da Mônica, which is a Brazilian cartoon and a Brazilian comic by a cartoonist called Mauricio Souza. I'm sure some of you might have seen it. Turma da Mônica is really famous in Brazil. It's like the national symbol of comics in Brazil. And Mônica and her gang had their own Mega Drive and Master System games, more than one. So yeah, Sega and Brazil pretty much go hand in hand. Super popular. This is one of those levels in which you see the exit right in front of you, but you can't get into it because there's a key way upstairs. And this level is actually fun. Let me show you why in a few minutes. Because it would look as if you have to climb all the way back down, but actually you don't really have to. Woohoo! There you go. Once you grab the key, it turns into this slide. There's actually a level in this game in which you get the rainbow crystal right at the beginning of the level, but then you have to escape the level, and it's pretty difficult to escape the level. Actually a pretty creative game, considering the limitations of the time, and considering that this is a licensed game, and most of the time some game makers, especially nowadays, when they make a licensed game, they depend too much on the actual license or the actual character to sell the game, and don't put much effort into actually making it a good experience. These Capcom Disney games are actually the opposite. They're good games even if you don't like the characters. Like me, I hate Mickey Mouse, but this game is It's really fun, and even if I don't like Mickey Mouse, I love this game. So it can stand on its own. The fact that it has Mickey Mouse in it does not deter me from playing the game. I think we all dreamed of swimming in Jell-O at some point in our lives. This is actually from a Disney cartoon. I don't remember the title, but it's a cartoon in which Mickey, Donald, and Goofy go up into a castle in the sky to save a singing harp, and there's a scene in which I think it's Goofy that gets trapped inside Jell-O, like a gelatin. Isn't it funny how Jell-O is actually a brand of gelatin, but since it's so ubiquitous and, I mean, everybody knows Jell-O, and it was pretty much the most famous brand of gelatin of all time, I'd go as far as to say everyone just calls it Jell-O, even in Britain. Oh, this section right here is really creative. I'll show you why in a minute. There's these little panels, there you go, and it changes the gravity and everybody falls on their head and breaks their neck and meets their mate. This is one of those levels that demonstrates the capacity of the Mega Drive, and at the same time it makes a nice little creative gimmick there. Now this, coupled with parallax scrolling and a little scaling effects as well, this was really what they had to work with, and it's really admirable what they did with it at the time. I really like the boss music in this game too. It's one of the most catchy boss musics that I can think of. And this boss over here, when I played for the first time, took me a few tries to figure out how to beat him. Now of course I can beat him every time, but when I was a kid it took me several tries to figure it out. A clown inside a present with boxing gloves, with a spring leg and a bowler hat. Only in video game land. This is a good level. I like the background in this level. And the music. There's something, yeah, there's something here. Secret. Treasure trove. This is actually one of the most confusing levels in the game, because it would look as if you have to go from left to right, but actually you don't. And it took me several minutes. It took me more than half an hour to figure out this level when I was little. It would look as if you fall into those pits you would die, but actually it's not the case. It took me a while to accidentally fall into a pit to realize that that's what I was supposed to do, and not just any pit. You have to fit into a specific pit that takes you to a specific passage. There you go. Yeah, it took me a lot of time to figure that out. Yes, look at the details in this level. I wonder how much time they spent just designing the whole background, and then the foreground and the next background. That's one of the things that I like about the Mega Drive, the parallax scrolling. It's kind of like looking into a fish tank, because you have many layers and you kind of see the depth, which is actually non-existent since it's a flat screen, but it gives the illusion of depth. Ew. Somebody flushed upstairs. Yep. The game gets a little bit more difficult, some platforms. As with Tiny Toon Adventures, this game is principally aimed at children, marketed towards kids like, say, 7 to maybe 12 years old. But these platforming sections these will challenge pretty much any player. You have to be very precise with these platforming sections. Ooh! This almost got me there. These platforming sections. And this part over here used to give me nightmares. You have barely enough time, just enough to go past this sewer section before the water sweeps you away. And with the water, if you get caught by the water, it sends you all the way back to the beginning, or at least as far as the current takes you. And it takes some health away, so you really don't. Oh, there you go. You really don't want to be cut by the current there. You can change the sprite to like any character, say maybe an Indiana Jones character or Mario or pretty much any character, and you will never realize that this is a Disney game. That's how creative these games were. They actually spent, you know, time and effort on these games. And here's the boss. This is one of the strangest bosses in video game history. Just a big pillar that spits out Gillman from the creature from the Black Lagoon. Now, Gillman, or the creature from the Black Lagoon, is actually my favorite Universal monster. And I actually dressed up as the creature from the Black Lagoon in Halloween 1992. That was my last Halloween before I moved to Brazil and other countries in which Halloween is not celebrated. There we go. This game is actually not that long. It's a pretty short game. You can maybe beat this in 30 to 40 minutes if you go throughout the whole game without dying once and getting everything right. But the first time you play this game, you'll probably spend 30 minutes just on the first few levels, finding out where to go and whatnot. Oh, I love this. I love this world here. Bookworm. Yeah, the bookworm reminds me of myself. And here's the tasty cake land inside the milk bottle. And gummy dolphins. Now, in any regular game like nowadays, this might sound old, but take for example Call of Duty, or say Mass Effect, or God of War, whatever. When will you ever get this variety of environments? I mean, it's relatively simple and it's relatively easy to think about, but when a time comes to actually create a scenery like this, and it's that creativity that a lot of people just can't put to work anymore because of how expensive games have become to produce. Another reason that the big budget American video game industry has become so stagnant and very unprofitable in recent years is that games have become so expensive to produce that they cannot take risks anymore and produce a game that might be creative and might be actually good, but that won't be received very well by the mass market or the mass audiences. That's why they kind of painted themselves into a corner with this high technology video game big budget style that it's, in the long run, it's really not sustainable. And I think this part here was particularly clever. You swing from these lamps and they turn off the switch so that the light goes out. It's a pretty nice detail over there. Oh man, this game is so great. Mickey Mouse actually has a few really good games, and most recently I played Disney's Epic Mickey, or Epic Mickey. While I absolutely hate the title, I actually think the game is really good. Well, it was designed by Warren Spector, which is one of my favorite game makers. Warren Spector is the guy behind Deus Ex. Oh, tea. I love tea. I'm a bookworm and I love tea. And I'm a bit of an Anglophile too. So, there you have it. Yeah, I'm a bit of an Anglophile. My first books that I read when I was little were all English books by writers from Great Britain. So yeah, I grew up on Charles Dickens, J.R.R. Tolkien and whatnot, and several other English writers, Roald Dahl. I have a particular love for all things English. But yeah, Epic Mickey is a really, really good game on the Nintendo Wii. It's got a really nice style, and the gameplay is really fun, actually. Although I hate the title. I stated this before, I'm actually a bit of a linguistic purist when it comes to the English language. Oh crap. I don't really like when proper English terms are used for purposes other than their original purpose. Like the word epic. The word epic has been taken completely out of its context. Shit, I can't seem to hit that worm. And speaking of which, did you know that Mickey Mouse was actually a euphemism in the 1930s for homosexual? Like for what would now be like gay, in the 1930s it was Mickey Mouse. That's another word that's been completely taken out of context, the word gay. You can't use the word gay anymore because it automatically means something else. And the word gay simply means happy or jolly. Up until the 1950s, even the Flintstones will have a gay old time, you know. Yeah, that's the kind of language change that I don't like. And you can't use the word faggot anymore either. Originally, and J.R.R. Tolkien uses this word faggot very much in his books. The word faggot is actually a word for a piece of wood that you put into the fire. And I believe because gay people, homosexuals, male homosexuals were at one time persecuted and burnt alive, that's where the terminology of faggot appeared. So now a faggot, instead of being a piece of wood that gives warmth, is a homosexual male. Now this boss right here was obviously inspired by Barva from The Legend of Zelda, The Adventure of Link, which is incidentally my favorite Legend of Zelda game, followed by Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess on the Nintendo GameCube. That game is just amazing. But yeah, man, people with prejudices. It's one thing I don't like about the United States and in general is that people care too much about other people's business, especially like in the South. There are too many preachers and people just sticking their nose into other people's business and condemning gays and lesbians. And I have a rule of thumb: if it doesn't affect you in your everyday life, then why should you care? Like my brother. I mean, my brother is like ultra right wing. He absolutely hates gays and he thinks they all should all be killed. And I don't know. I once asked him, how does it affect you in your daily life that you'll have to pardon my language for a moment, but if a guy likes to smoke pole or if a chick likes to munch muff, I mean, how does that affect you in your daily life? If it doesn't affect me, then it's not worth even thinking about it. I mean, it doesn't bother me. What's it to me? But people can't seem to mind their own business. Mosquitoes bother me. I mean, mosquitoes bother me because in my daily life their existence does affect me because mosquitoes are dangerous. They can transmit deadly diseases like yellow fever, and yeah, I hate mosquitoes. I think mosquitoes should be, well, not eradicated, at least they should be controlled. The population of mosquitoes has gotten out of hand. Oh, here's a tough jump right now. Oh my god. Yeah, that's a really tough jump over there. But yeah, I mean, why should I care if some guy likes another guy? I mean, it doesn't affect me in my daily life, so why should I care? Live and let live. Or live and let die. So live and let die. Live and let die. Live and let die. Da 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 da. Gotta love Paul McCartney. Yeah, this level right here is just close to the end of the game, but not quite. So it gets much more difficult at this point. I got to this point when I was a kid and I could not beat this, and it was time for dinner, so I had to turn it off and lose all my progress. For me it felt like a tragedy, but now I realize it's not all that big. Yeah, I love this game. Such a good game. And here's the impossibly difficult jump. Oh no. Oh man. Yeah, you gotta hit that jump just right, or else you won't make it past. But I'm not gonna have another attempt at it tonight. Okay, that'll be enough for now. Good night, everyone.